Hello. On the last video, we created our path scene and the view scene, and we initialized them with our managers. So in this video, we are going to create a player and instantiate it when our gamepad gets connected and destroy it when our gamepad gets disconnected. But before doing that, I want to add version control to this project. I have an example here of my git ignore. So I'm going to copy this. You don't need to do this, but I just wanted to show how I do it in case you're curious. Initialize repository. Arcanepad Unity example. Commits. Yes. So if you have large files like meshes that are more than 100 megabytes, you will need to add a large file system or something like that. That's a little bit more complex, but for this is fine. So now let's go and create a player prefab. Did I make a commit? Yeah, I did a commit. Okay. So create empty player. And this player is going to have a 3D object cube, and this cube is going to be 1 by 2 by 0.2 because we want to make it look like a phone, because it's going to rotate and look like we are rotating our phone. It's going to mirror it, but not now. That's going to be on video in the future. So for now this is fine. Let's create a prefabs folder, and inside this folder I'm going to put this prefab and delete the player. Now let's go to our view manager, and before creating our player we need to await that before doing anything we need to await that our client has been initialized. So to do that, we are going to make this awake function async, and now here we await arcane client initialize. This will be enough, but we want to get the initial state. So var initial state is equal to this. So this initial state is going to have the paths dot for each path create player, and we are going to send the path here. Now let's create a function create. This should be like that. Create player Arcanepad path. Great. So what this doing is creating a player for each path that was on the initial state. But what if the path gets connected after we initialize our viewer, not before? Well, then we need to listen to the path connected event. Well, it's iframe path connected or something like that. So arcane.message.on a event name dot iframe path connect. Here we can do something. So we can do it like a lambda, like this, or we can do it with an action. I'm going to do it with an action, so it is more clean, because instead of doing the logic here, we will do new action iframe path connect event, and here create player. The only problem here is that we don't have an Arcanepad here. We have an iframe path connect event, so we are going to create a new function. Void create player if don't exist. So actually we could do this on the same function. No, we can't, because we need to, yeah. So here we are going to listen the iframePad connect event e. Okay, this is strange. Why we're having an error? Oh, because I didn't update the function. Okay, we update the function, and now as you can see it works. We are going to pass the iframePad connect. So the problem here when the iframePad connect is that we don't have the pad. We have the iframePad event. So we need to create the pad. And before doing anything, I'm going to do the last thing, that is on iframePad disconnect. iframePad disconnect event, and we are going to destroy the player. You could do whatever you want. If you don't want to destroy it, you can just wait or pause the game or send a message that the player is disconnected. And here we are going to receive the iframePad disconnect event. Great. So I'm going to see for a moment how it is done on the tutorial, the documentation. So yeah, we need to create the player right now. Before continuing here, we are going to create the player script. So let's go to Unity and add a new script, player. Oh, actually I did create it before. I'm going to delete it because this is like the second or third time that I'm recording this video in order to have it well done as much as possible. So yeah, let's create the script again, player. Great. So now we delete everything here, and we are going to put the public Arcanepad and the void public void initialize, and this is going to receive a pad. Arcanepad pad, and we assign the pad to the parameter pad. Great. So now we go to our view manager and let's see the code, how it is done. Okay, we have the player prefab, we have a list of players, public game object player prefab, and list of players. Great. So now on the create player code, we are going to do this. Let's see. I'm going to open this on another tab so I can. Okay. So on the create player, we are going to say if string is null or empty, pad.iframeID, then return. If the iframe ID is null or empty, we don't want to continue. That can happen when the gamepad is not connected to the game yet. Now we are going to create the new player, game object new player equals to instantiate player prefab. We set the position vector3 dot 0 quaternion dot identity. Right, and now we need the player component. New player dot get component player, and we add this to the players list. Players dot add player component. Right. So now if we go to our view scene, we need to open Arcanepad to act as the server. If we press play, nothing will happen yet. We need to go to our settings developer menu, and we need to open on our phones the gamepad and press play. You should have the export URL path that we set on the video before this. And now we are going to press play. Now it's going to load the scene, and after it loads the scene, we can play here. If we do it before, it won't work, because this only creates the player when the pad was created before the view. To create it after, we are going to use this call, okay, player if don't exist. So now if we press play, we should have our player. Oh, I forgot to, as always, I forgot to set the player prefab here. Okay, we have something similar that is from the example, but pick the player, and now play, and it should work. Perfect. Now we have our game object, our player. There is an error. I don't know if that's from now. Let's see. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. What is this? Why is this happening? Let me check the documentation. Oh, we need to initialize the list. I forgot that. Great. So now it's working fine. I'm going to pause the application now, and let's continue with the code. So on create player if don't exist, we are going to check first if the player exists. Our player exists equals to players.any player dot pad is equals to dot pad dot iframe id is equals to e dot iframe id, to the event iframe id. So if this exists, then we return if player exists, return. If not, then we create the pad. Our pad is equals to new Arcanepad, and the device ID is equals to e.device ID. The internal ID is equals to the the event.internal ID. Then we have the iframe ID equals to the event dot iframe ID is connected is equals to true, and the user is the event dot user. Yeah, there are a few parameters. You can do it just with commas separated um, parameters, but I like to put it like this so it's clear that we are not missing any parameter. So now with this path we are going to create the player. We're going to call our function create player and we pass the path. Great. So now if we press play and we don't have our gamepad loaded, that's fine. We can load it after the viewer has been initialized. Now when the gamepad loads, it's going to instantiate our player. Great. As you can see, it created the player. And now we are going to destroy it when the gamepad gets disconnected. So we need to get the player that is to be destroyed. So players dot, our player is players dot first or default player that path dot id iframe ID is equals to the event dot iframe ID. If player equals to null for some reason, debug.log .log error player not found to remove on disconnect element. And we could just return here. And then if it was found, we say player.path.dispose. Then players.remove player, and finally destroy player dot game object. So now if we press play, it is creating our player, and if we exit, okay, we're having an error here. Let me check. Okay, I finally found the errors. So the first one was that our player prefab was missing the player script, and the second error was that here we have to initialize our player before on creating it. So new player initialize, sorry, player component dot initialize, and we pass the path. Yes, so now it should work. So let's pause and play here our gamepad. So now when the gamepad gets connected, it should create the game object, the player, great. And when the gamepad gets disconnected, the player is destroyed. So we can also do it like just close the app and it's going to do the same, or just press on the cross. So if we close the app, it's getting disconnected as well. And if we open the app again, it's going to load again the gamepad and create it. So that's great, and this already supports multiple gamepads. It's just that they are going to get one on top of each other, so you want to be able to to see it. But I think for this video that will be it. I'm going to check on the documentation. Yes, we cover everything I wanted to cover on this video. So on the next video, finally we are going to start sending events from the gamepad to the view and from the view to the gamepad, and we are going to do some interesting stuff. But this was the most important basic stuff, because now we can instantiate and listen to the creation and destroying events. So that's great. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you have any questions, please join our Discord channel and ask me there. So thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye.